Hello everyone, and welcome to the third of 3 video tutorials on calibrated peer review. This video will be a hands-on demonstration of how to access and go through all the steps of a standard CPR assignment. So the first step obviously is to access the site. Again, the web address is cpr.as.uky.edu. I'll log in now with my previously provided CPR ID and click login, and I'm met with the CPR home, so I'll enter as a student and look through my assignment list and see that I have one assignment here that is in progress. When you access your assignment for the very first time, or really any time, you'll be directed to an assignment information and progress page. Here you'll be able to review the course name and the assignment name, but also a timeline bracketed here by these blue bars that gives you the specific timings of each stage of the CPR. So you can see that the current assignment state is in progress, and then going down you see the assignment start time, which is when the assignment is first available and when you're first provided the opportunity to start uploading or submitting your documents. This is followed by the text entry end time. This is the date and time at which no more text entries will be allowed. This is hard-coded into the software. Once this deadline passes, it becomes very difficult for us to push papers through. So it's very important that you make sure you recognize and keep in mind the text entry end time. After that, you have the calibration start time. This could be anywhere from immediately after the text entry end time to maybe a couple of days afterwards, depending on your specific course. After that, you have the calibrations end time. You can see here that the calibrations end 5 minutes after they begin. Some courses will do this in order to allow you more time to do the entire CPR assignment versus doing each step individually. In these cases, and again, you should make sure you clarify this with your instructor. If this is the case, usually what that means is that you won't be counted late if you start your calibrations after the 5-minute deadline is over. Usually it means that you'll still get full credit, and your instructor wants you to do the calibrations, the reviews, and the self-assessment all at once. And they usually give you more than 1 day to do that. After the calibration end times, the review start time, you can see here that in this case it starts right immediately following the calibration end time, and then the assignment end time is the deadline to get all of it done, which means reviews, specifically the reviews and the self-assessment, depending on how the timeline for your specific course works. Another very important part of this page specifically is underneath the bottom blue bar, which is labeled Your Progress. This is where you can confirm whether or not you've completed each stage of CPR. If you're going to take a break or you're going to finish some of the portions later on, you always want to come back to this page and make sure that you've done all the parts that you think that you have done. So for example, make sure that you've uploaded your document correctly and that you've submitted it, you would see a yes under text entry, and it's all the same for everything else. Once you've reviewed all this information, you can go ahead and access the assignment. And when you first access your assignment, you'll be sent straight to what's called the source materials. It's not required that you look over this, but we try and give you as much information to help you write your text and prepare for the CPR assignment using this page. Obviously, your professors will have more time during lecture if they choose to give you that, to go over the specifics of each individual assignment, but here we give you some guidelines and some things to think about for each individual assignment as best as we can. Once you've gone through this, there'll be a little link here that says continue on to text entry. I've already done this, which is why the little link isn't at the bottom, but you will see it there. If not, the links here in blue are the parts of the assignment that are accessible. The ones in gray are not accessible because their time, the deadline hasn't been reached yet. So once you're comfortable with the source materials, if you so choose to read them, you can go straight into text entry. and this is the text entry dialog page. Here you're shown the word limit. This will be based upon your specific instructor and your specific assignment. And again, here, depending on the instructions that you're given, this could say docx, it could say PDF. Be sure to follow instructions that are given to you for your specific class before continuing on. In this class, there is no requirement to fill in the text box. Some classes will require you to only fill in the text box. Other classes will require you to upload a document. This is one of those classes. To upload a document, you'll want to click down here to upload file, and then you'll be given a 3-step process. It's very important to do all 3 steps here. The first step is to choose a file. So you choose a file, it'll open up a little dialog box for you to access your files. Click on the appropriate one, click open, and then step 2 is to actually upload that file. And when you do that, you'll see a little message here that says your file was uploaded successfully. If it doesn't say that, then you should try it again, and if it still doesn't work, contact your instructor or your professor, let them know that you're having technical difficulties. They'll point you to the right direction. The third step is very important. Just because your file is uploaded doesn't mean that you've submitted your paper. It is absolutely imperative that you click return to text entry and confirm at the bottom of the page that you've uploaded a document. You even have the choice of previewing the uploaded file, so you can make sure that the file that you've uploaded is not your language arts or reading homework or your sports kinesiology homework, but rather is in fact the assignment that you're required to upload for this class. Once you've confirmed that, then you have, again, a number of options. There are 2 buttons here. One button is to save the text, and all that does is just saves your current progress. I didn't have anything here, so in this little dialog box it says empty. But the more important button to hit when you're ready to submit is to actually click submit text. You'll get a confirmation message that says your text has been successfully submitted, and usually at this point you're not going to be able to continue because the calibration start time hasn't arrived yet. So if I were to come here and click continue to calibration stage, I would get a big red message saying you cannot perform calibrations until whatever time. But it is important at this stage to go back to your assignment info, which is at this link up here at the top left, and you can see now that text entry has a yes next to it, which means I have successfully submitted my paper. So we're now at the stage where we can start the calibrations. Once the calibration start time, we're back and the calibrations have started. So now when we access the website, we'll be greeted with the first calibration. Again, any and all formatting for the calibrations will be done on your screen. There is no document to download or view, and if there are any graphs or anything like that we want to show you, there will be a hyperlink directing you to those graphs and tables. So this is the first calibration with the text here, and then there are the 10 questions, all of them yes or no, and then the final question, how would you rate this text, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these as quickly as I can, and we'll show you what happens after that. So when you're done answering all 10 questions and you've given the score based on the number of yes answers, you'll click submit answers, and here you'll go to the next calibration, and it'll bring up the second calibration text, same 10 questions, answer those. I'll go ahead and do those, the next 2, and show you the final screen when you're all done. So when you're done with all of the calibrations, you'll get a notice that says you've submitted all the required calibrations, and then it'll give you the option of returning to those calibrations to double check your answers, something that we obviously highly recommend. Or you can go ahead and continue on and score your calibrations. Now, sometimes, depending on how well you perform on the calibrations, you may see something like this screen here with a lot of red on it. It's by no means any reason to panic. In this case, here you have the calibrations 1, 2, and 3. The minimum percent correct on those questions that you did, according to the answer key that we've given, you have to get 70% correct in order to master each calibration. In this case, for calibration 1, I scored a 90%. Calibration 2 scored a 70%. Calibration 3, unfortunately, a 50%. The other score that we take into account is a maximum deviation from the rating. So this is the specific answer to question 11. We only allow a maximum deviation of 3 points. In this case, calibration 1, I did okay. Calibration 2 was too large. Calibration 3, apparently, I was really close to the level. However, because of these two alerts here, tells me that I have not yet mastered either of those two calibrations. In this case, you are allowed one more chance to go back and retake those calibrations. And it'll take you back to the calibration that you missed. Tells you that you're doing a retake, and it gives you the answers that you've already given so that you can better understand what's going on. So because this is a tutorial, I'm not going to go ahead and change my answers because I really don't care. But if you are given this chance, you should definitely take advantage. Read over the text a lot more carefully, understand what's going on, and see if you can increase your score. Usually people that have to retake end up mastering after the retake. Alright, so the calibration period has technically ended, although it's never really a hard deadline. But now that we've got a couple of retakes that had to happen, now you can see sort of a better representation of what all is going on in the calibration result screen, which is where you're taken as soon as you finish the calibrations and the calibration deadline, so to speak, has passed. So here you have your score as you saw before on the first screen, but then on the bottom you'll get the details of each one. So for each question, it's showing each of the calibrations 1, 2, and 3. In this case, these are both the retakes. And then for each question, you're given the answer that the instructor gave, and then compared to the answer that you gave. Now, all of these instructor answers are highlighted or in blue or hyperlinked because each one contains some sort of an explanation. Specifically, the ones that are answered no, we try and go into a bit more detail under the feedback section, as shown here, for example, to help you better understand why we scored the papers the way we did. In this way, we hope that you'll pay attention to these answers and specifically the feedback behind the no answers to understand why a certain calibration was considered to be of a certain quality. Once you understand this and you feel comfortable, you can go on to the review stage. And in the review stage, you're going to be given each of the papers. Now, if there is no text entry, dialogue entry requirement, in other words, if you're only required to upload a document and you're not required to fill anything in on that initial text box, you'll see a message here that says there is no peer text available for this review. That's only because the software treats it that way. But if you do see a blue hyperlink for view uploaded file, you should definitely click that, and you'll be directed to either automatically download or choose your destination for the paper. You'll notice that the file names are going to be very funky, a long stretch of alphanumeric characters. And that's another part of the randomization process to make sure that if somebody were to have accidentally left their name or their ID number or some identifying information on the file name, you won't be able to see it when they upload or when you download it. But once you click on view uploaded file and you read the paper, then you can go in and start answering these questions. Obviously, for some of these yes answers, you may not have to put anything, in which case, and again, this is dependent upon your instructor specifically. Some will say it's fine just to put yes. in this field so that something is recorded. If there is a dialog box for you to explain your answer, you do have to put something in each and every single one, even if the answer itself is self-explanatory. We do recommend that if there is a no for any one of these, you should clarify your answer and expand upon it briefly, however completely, so that we as instructors and your professors, and also most importantly your peers, will understand where you're coming from when you answer a specific question with a no. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up this one, and then we'll go on to the second and third. Okay, so I finished 2 reviews, and I'm going to submit. So there's no third review for me to look at. This does sometimes happen. It's not a big deal. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue the self-assessment, where I'll be receiving my own file again, because there was no requirement to put anything in the dialog box. This shows up as empty, but there is a file for me to for me to download. Obviously, you have a copy of your own paper. However, it may behoove you to download the copy that's on the CPR server, just to make sure that other people saw the same thing that you think you're saying, in which case that'll tell you by downloading the file here. So I'm not sure what anybody else is grading me, but in this case there are no fields for explanation, because obviously you should be able to understand why you didn't include something in your own paper. But once you're done with the self-assessment, then you have the option to return, go back to the self-assessment, and change any of your answers, or to continue to the assignment results, which is what we're going to do. And obviously we're not done yet, so we'll come back to this and look at the actual results. Alright, so we're back and we're getting close to the end time. If we click on this link here, it'll show us what the CPR time is, and that really is the only timing that matters as far as these assignments go. If you're ever in doubt as to how far off your clock on your computer or your laptop is from the actual CPR time, you can always click this link up here. That's a CPR time, and it'll give you the actual date. But now that the assignment is over, you can see here under my progress, I finished all of the portions, all of the units of CPR, except for viewing my assignment results, which we'll go ahead and do right now. So once I click on access assignment, come to the results page, and here you'll see reviews that you performed of other people's work and how well you did, and whether or not you mastered those. Each of those obviously going for a maximum of 10 points in this case. Because I didn't have a third review to do, that doesn't count against me. So if you only get 2 reviews, or even if you only get 1 review, don't worry about that affecting your score. You don't get counted off for work that's never given to you. In the middle here, you have reviews performed of your own work. And you can also look at your work here by clicking on this link, in case you forgot what you wrote. But for both reviewers here, all of the answers are hyperlinked because answers were required. So I would guess if I click here, so reviewer number 1 gave me a no on number 7, and I look, and the explanation here tells me that I forgot to add some information. So I can go back and confirm that by looking at my own paper to make sure whether or not that reviewer was being honest or not. So I received a fairly low text rating. Here at the bottom of each of the reviewers is the weight applied to the ratings. This weight is a direct measure taken from the calibrations. So in this case, reviewer 2, who did give me a higher score, was clearly not a very good reviewer. His calibration weight is 0, which means it's essentially worthless. Our reviewer 1, who scored me lower but provided a very coherent explanation for his answers, is given a weight of 1, which is the highest that you can get in this case, and so his score is probably fairly accurate. My self-assessment of myself was way too generous, and so because I exceeded the self-assessment deviation that was allowed for full credit, I don't get any credit for that. I do get full credit for the reviews because I did all of them and stayed within the deviation of ratings. I only mastered one calibration, and you can always go back here to calibration results to confirm that. And so my overall score is a 48.33 out of 100, which is not very good, but I can go back, review my work, look at the reviews that I was given, and get a better understanding so that the next time a CPR assignment rolls through, I'll have a better understanding of what I should do. And that's pretty much it. Every single assignment pretty much follows the same order as this one did. Any specifics I've tried to mention as far as anything that's class specific. If you have any questions, as always, you can contact one of the instructors in charge of calibrated peer review for UK, Madhu Srinivasan, or me, Jiffin Paulos, or one of your professors.